Let's jump in a couple of spots a little tighter on some of these areas in particular. There was Sugar Land, as you saw a second ago. And so as we mentioned, that the winds are starting to pick up with some intensity. I'd expect winds that were anywhere from around 20, 25 miles an hour will probably start picking up closer to 30 to 40 within the next 1 to 2 hours. The storm is going to be making landfall within the next 30 minutes down at the coast, which is what we're seeing right now. We'll go down to the coast here in just a bit. But if you go anywhere from Bel Air, there's Highway 90 down towards the Beltway as it slides across. There's Brookside Village, there's Pearland, Hobby over towards Macawa. As you get towards South Houston, here's the other thing too. I've had some folks that have asked me questions to say, are there going to be flight delays today? I would not be shocked if there are cancellations all day today. If you're trying to get in or out of town, probably not going to happen today. Tomorrow, better. Maybe later on this evening, we'll see what the conditions are like, but I cannot stress enough. If you're watching us across much of the metro area, this is just beginning. We're going to be in the thick of this for the next 4 to 5 hours. And in fact, let me turn this back on just to get you a sense of the, we'll call it moderate rainfall that we're seeing out across the inner loop right now. And you go just south of there from 288 on down to the Beltway. And I'll widen this out just to get a better sense of what we're seeing. This first heavy band is starting to press northward. And as it does, it's going to bring the rainfall rates from this are anywhere from around 2 to almost 3 inches per hour. About 2 inches per hour is enough to do street flooding, you know, side streets, feeder roads. If you've got an area in your neighborhood that you know that just doesn't drain very well or it fills up very quickly when you get big thunderstorms, expect those to go under very quickly. Once we get closer to 3 to 4 inches per hour, which is not out of the question what this storm could do, that's when we're talking about some concerns across some of the bigger roads, you know, state routes, this FMs, or even some of the interstates. Now, most of the main interstates, if you're new to town, there's a reason why they're all elevated and they have those little holes as you're driving along because the water fills up, drains down to the feeders. That's one of the reasons why those feeders fill up as quickly as they do, and those are the ones you really need to watch out for. Best just to not go out anywhere if you don't need to at this point. Looks like we've got a secondary one. Yes. Okay, well, I'll get you information on that. Let's see what we've got. So that's a new tornado warning right in behind that. That's until 4:15. So we've got 4 o'clock and 4:15, and I'd expect to see this too because this is what we're starting to get some of these bands that are coming through. So let me jump in a little tighter on that just to get a sense of what we're seeing, and it's right about that same area. Okay, I'm going to slide over to the velocity here real quick, Caroline, just so I can get a sense of what I'm seeing, if there's anything. I'm not picking up on anything there so far, but same story as we've said a second ago is that all of this that we're getting is likely just, you know, at least some rotation within the clouds itself. So let me put this in motion over the last hour here just to get a sense if there's anything that I can pick up on. Yeah, it looks...
So it's near Iowa Colony.
Yeah, I got it right there. Okay, so basically Iowa Colony towards Manville, 288. So we're talking about between Highway 6 and 288. If there is something that's trying to swirl or trying to dip down to the surface here, this is what we're looking at. And again, we're not picking up on any major signatures, which would basically be all of this red, which is outbound winds going away from the radar site, which is over in League City and Dickinson, by the way. And then you have sort of a green inbound wind. You saw that right near Thompson just a second ago at the very end of this. So my guess is that these are, you know, these are radar indicated, meaning that there's at least some rotation enough that the National Weather Service says, hey, we're going to slap a tornado warning on that. Let me put this, stop this in motion here, and let's put the radar back on just so you get a sense of what it looks like. So there we go. Okay, so again, we've got tornado warnings, and I have this little button right here turned on. You see these arrows? These are called skits, and they're basically sort of severe markers is probably the best way to describe them. Anything that may be in the storm that could turn severe, hail, some kind of rotation. We'll see if we're picking up on any of that. And in fact, let's turn the base rotation on right now, and I'm just not seeing anything that we've got. Storm relative velocity, I'm not picking up on any of that as well, so we'll turn those back on just to get a better chance if we're seeing anything. We're not at this point, but that said, there's still probably an indication that we could be looking at some rotation anywhere from Iowa Colony over towards Manville. So there's 288, there's Highway 6, and then of course you've got the first tornado warning from Thompson's. That's sliding over towards Fairchild. There's Needville over to Pleak as well. All of these areas, this heavy rain, as we said just a second ago, is picking up anywhere from 2 to almost 3 inches per hour. So the whole area is under aerial flood advisory until 6:15. Let me widen this out just to get a sense. So starting to see some conditions going downhill. What's interesting about this too is did you notice just how compact the storm is? And as we said a second ago, we've got our own Gage Golding down here in Matagorda Bay. When we talked to Gage about an hour ago now, I want to say, or probably about 45 minutes ago when we first came on the air, he had said he started to believe that the wind was going down. Their anemometer, handheld one that he has, which is a measure of the wind speed, was clocking closer to 90 miles an hour and then had dropped down to about 25. My guess is that his conditions are vastly improved from the rest of our crews that are all along the coastline here, including Bill Spencer, Mario Diaz, Rochelle Turner, and then of course Owen Conflenti, who's over towards the Galveston Convention Center, and Galveston Island as well, one of the spots that's under that aerial flood advisory because these bands just continue to roar on shore. Now, interestingly enough, if you go just west of the storm, look at this over towards Colorado County out to Victoria. Absolutely nothing. So this will give you a good indication of just the compact nature of Beryl as it's coming on shore, and all of this is going to roar northward. I think I saw a second ago the last shot I had seen from Centerpoint was over 55,000 outages. And Caroline, you mentioned a second ago too that both Wharton County and parts of Matagorda County were about 40% power outages with this storm starting to come on shore. So all of what we're seeing out here, just to kind of put a bow on things, is exactly what we were expecting over the last 2 to 3 hours as this storm got closer and closer. And so what we'll start to see as we transition now from 4 o'clock as we're coming up at the top of the hour, going into about 6 to 8 o'clock, inland areas, so that includes all of Houston Metro, your conditions are going to start going downhill very quickly. If you're just waking up with us now and you're thinking, oh, it's light rain out there, I'm not seeing a whole lot, just wait, give it 2 to 3 hours. Things are going to start to go downhill. The good news is that over the next 1 to 2 hours, especially on the south end here from, let's say, Port O'Connor to Port Lavaca, down towards Matagorda, Aransas County, then northward up to the Bay, we'll start to see some improvement. But back end of the storm right here still has to come through. So that means Port Lavaca sliding inland as you get towards Palacios. And then, of course, all of the barrier island there towards the bay. This all still has to get the backside of this storm coming through. So expect the winds to pick up. I'd expect the storm surge to start to slide a little further to the north. And that'll start to put areas just south of there towards, let's say, Rockport in a much better condition over the next 1 to 2 hours. But we've still got some very heavy rain. And these rain bands, Caroline, are really starting to pick up speed. So I would say that some of our rainfall totals that you've shown so far that are close to what, 2 to 3, almost 4 inches at the coast, I would easily say we could double those numbers when it's all said and done here in the next 5 hours.
I think getting 8 inches of rain is certainly possible. That's going to be a concern. A quick update from the Hurricane Center. We now officially have landfall that happened around Matagorda, Texas. We were anticipating this. We've been watching as that eye has been pushing its way on shore. They're now saying officially Beryl has made landfall in Matagorda, but remember, landfall is not the end. Landfall is really the beginning here in southeast Texas. We still have to deal with storm surge, heavy downpours, and of course, that ever-present risk of tropical tornadoes. Tropical tornadoes, they spin up quick and they're on the ground for a short amount of time, but you need to take them just as serious as you would any other tornado warning. So this is a look at that tornado warning we're watching right now. This is for Fort Bend County and Brazoria County in place through 4:15 a.m., so about another 13 minutes. If you're within this warning, you need to be in your safe place right now. Interior room, away from any windows. Don't chance it. Go to that interior lowest level. Bring your kids, bring your pets, and just wait until this warning has expired. You can bring us with you on your phone. Click2Houston.com/watch live. We're still waiting on that new advisory, so we will be checking up on that map periodically because we are expecting a brand new cone at 4. But let me tell you, even with that new cone, it's already moving its way on shore. We're not going to see a lot of change. We've been watching as this makes its way to the north. That's going to be continuing to make its way up towards the north. Justin.
Yeah, they let that first tornado warning expire at 4 o'clock. So that's an indicator that you and I have been talking about a second ago, that these are radar indicated and we're not necessarily seeing anything on the ground yet.
Yes.
Can't confirm that there hasn't been any damage. If we get any information on that, we'll let you know. But expect to see these fire up, and then when they expire, they will likely let them go. go. This is just mainly a precautionary measure at this point.
Absolutely. And you want to take all of these extremely serious as they're going to be popping up. In fact, right now, let's take a look at our reflectivity, see if we can see any other potential spin ups here. So this is what we're looking at. This is our storm winds. So winds relative to our radar. Our radar here in Southeast Texas, that's located right in League City. So the red, that's winds going away from the radar. Greens are winds going towards the radar. So when we see them close together, that's going to indicate rotation, spin, tropical tornado. That's going to be the big threat that we're monitoring. Thankfully, not seeing a tight rotation here, but the Weather Service did see enough as it was pushing its way through. So we're going to keep seeing these. We do have a tornado watch in place through 10 a.m. this morning. I expect this to be reissued as we go into the afternoon as well. But storm by storm, right now we're tracking this tornado warning in place, currently going to be in place through 4:15. So if we take a broad look at what we're currently watching, areas north of I-10, you really haven't seen a lot. You saw those outer rain bands yesterday around 1 o'clock, and now we've got more rain moving its way in. This will continue to push its way to the north. That's the good news. This system is continuing to move. In fact, right now our winds still moving it to the north-northwest at 10 miles per hour. We are anticipating our latest update with a new cone. That should be coming. It said 4 a.m. It's possible our system just moving a bit slow. But what you can expect, because Beryl's made landfall in Matagorda, that interaction with land, it's really going to start to decrease in strength. Think of the Gulf of Mexico like the food for this hurricane. It's had an unlimited buffet as it's moved across the Gulf. Now that it's on land, we've cut off this food supply, and we expect Beryl to start decreasing in strength. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to see a lot of rain. In fact, right now, rainfall totals, this is in the last 24 hours. Bay City now nearly 6 inches of rain, and this is just the beginning. Bay City about 20 miles north of the coast there. So almost 6 inches, 8 inches. That's going to be easy because additional rainfall between now and Tuesday, we're talking even for the Houston area, over 7 inches of rain. Keep in mind, we haven't seen a lot of rain so far. Here in Houston, only ½ an inch. So this is why we're urging you, stay home, stay off the roads. You don't want to be going into work today because conditions only going to get worse, especially as this system works its way to the north. The strongest winds, that's going to be around the eye wall. So this is where we can expect to see most of our power outages. I do briefly want to show you those power outages because we have been tracking this. Take a look at what we're looking at. Matagorda County currently seeing that deteriorate. Wharton County, 40% without power. Matagorda County, we're now saying over 70% of Matagorda County is without power. You can see 15%, these numbers, they're going to keep changing, 83%. So a lot of locations are losing power. This is why we're urging you, keep your devices charged. If you lose power, you can still watch us online. Click to Houston.com/watch live. Justin, we're expecting to see a lot more power outages as we go through the next 8 hours.
Yeah.